the guy who started Heavy Metal Records was our manager, and he couldn't give us away with a box of cornflakes. So he said, "Sorry, I'll start my own label," and there you go.
First band, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that, and of course, you went on about the album cover. Well, that one, because we couldn't afford fancy artwork like all the bands were doing back then, we just went for the most shock value, really. Do you know what I mean? It was cheap because I always remember Paul Birch, who owns the record label and was the manager. He says to Flabby, "Can you get in the pig pen with the pig, Edna?" Like, and he went, "I'm not getting in there." He went, "No, no." He said, "If you take all your clothes off and get in, you'll be fine." So, so
They'll fit
yeah.
right in.
So yeah, of course, Edna and Flabby got on like a house on fire. You love that pig. Like, and that's where the logo and things come from. So he was using the shock value, especially with the name of the album and whatever else. It's more like a shock thing, which is what the punk bands were doing, like the Sex Pistols, with the title of that album, and obviously the picture of the Queen with the safety pin through her nose.
For
So all
sure.
that's like a shock thing, isn't it? So he was using that type of, and of course, it got the worst album cover review, which was brilliant, which is what we wanted, because people sometimes remember the top album cover, but they certainly remember the worst one. And we've been on so many TV shows because of that cover. And then the second one with the Doberman looking up the skirt that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jane like. So, and it all went down that road because that's what we wanted, because we got in magazines because of having the worst album cover, and still do today. If you type that in Google, it'll come up, worst album covers.
Yeah, well,
So
that's how I discovered the band, because
yeah,
I saw that
see?
on a list of worst album covers, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And then listened to it, and it was like, how have I not heard this ever? It's like the most underrated music, and it's
Yeah,
like, how is
yeah.
this not getting radio play, like Sweeties and everything? Just so, so excellent.
Oh, see, there's
Yeah,
another one. There's another one that's a bit near the knuckle today, but it wasn't to do with what people think it is.
really.
They're all no, no. It was about, see, because Mel Bassett, the drummer, the original drummer, he was really young, and he and the girls that used to get into him were 16, 17, where the lads were in the 20s then. And so Flabby writted about him because he come from a place called Nuneaton. That's where it's down Nuneaton with me bag of sweets outside the school gates when it's time for home. It was just written about him. And if you look at the single cover, it's like one of the girls off the St. Triniad's movies. I don't know if you've seen them
Yes.
before. And it's done tongue in cheek, but in today's world, that can be seen as being a bit near the knuckle. Like, but
Well, we're
Flabby wouldn't
talking
even.
so long ago too, you know.
Yeah, yeah, 40 odd years ago,
Yeah.
it's a long time, man. I mean, and back then it was all tongue in cheek sort of thing, and it was acceptable.
Yeah.
But today you can't do it. But there's been a few radio interviews that Flabby did, and when they asked him about that, because what's the story behind the was it risky lyrics and what have you? He went, "What risky lyrics you on about? There's no risky lyrics in there," and they just delete that from the interview because he was like he was, yeah, paedophilia is perfectly fine, but it isn't obviously. But
Yeah.
you've got to take it in the context of how it was written and why it was written and that really.
Yeah, and it's
But
also like look at the cover as well. It's like you think it's gonna be like a children's album, It's like it's called Bestiality.